And now, for your listening pleasure, here's Polizzi and Rose, covering the week of media, marketing, and digital content news. This Old Marketing. Take it away, boys.
Hello, my friends. This is Robert Rose, and welcome to episode number 293 of This Old Marketing, recorded on Tuesday, October 12th at 4:20. I'll leave it for you to understand what that means and where we are right now, because with me, as always, is my good friend, my colleague, and certainly no friend of John Gruden, Mr. Joe Polizzi. How are you?
Well, first of all, this is just all kinds of weirdness because we're recording this on a Tuesday because
that's right.
You have a very important presentation you need to go to when we normally record, which is fine. And it just
I have to sadly go to Las Vegas, which is one of the worst places in the world.
Well, I
hate.
I know you hate it, and I love it.
Yeah,
I love every part of it. So it says a lot about us. But it is funny that it's right now it's 4:21. Like you did that.
That's right
at 4:20, which is very hard to do. You know, it only happens.
It is
once
very
a day.
difficult to do.
This,
yeah. Well, it actually happens twice a day, but yes, indeed, the afternoon part is only once per day.
But actually, if you were doing it right, it would only be 4:20 in the morning, because if you were using military time, there's only one 4:20. See what I'm saying? See how I'm going? See where I'm going on that? See how that works?
Have another hit off the bong, my friend.
You know, I was. Come on now. You know I don't do that stuff. Whatever. Let's just stop talking.
Yeah.
The Gruden thing. To totally change the subject here. What the heck? Because look, I don't know anything about it.
That escalated fast, basically.
All I did, I saw it in the New York Times this morning in their newsletter, and I saw it in Morning Brew. And when it said he resigned because of his misogynistic comments, and I don't know what those were, but
I do. I've read the articles, but
maybe you can give more detail.
I certainly know what they're reporting on.
My first impression was, of course, like if you've known anything about John Gruden for the past X number of years, he's been pretty open about how he's felt about just about everything. So how is this now a surprise? And educate me with why it must have really been bad and something new. What happened?
It wasn't great. It certainly wasn't great. Yeah, the things that he said, and in, looking at them from the outside looking in, you go, you understand perhaps because of exactly what you're saying. Like, I'm not surprised that he uses that kind of language and uses and has that kind of attitude, but what I am surprised about is the level of stupidity that is here, because
you have to give some more detail because so let's say that nobody. First of all, John Gruden is the coach of the Las Vegas Raiders.
Correct, and a famous coach. He's been in the NFL
been on ESPN for years. Yeah, he won a Super Bowl when he was with
Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah. Okay, all right. So now he's back. Pretty high profile coach, and what does he do?
Yes, he during a lawsuit that was happening between the Washington football team, which I couldn't pick another team that this should happen to, but there we go. The Washington football team, they were having some email exchanges between he and I believe one of the executives at the Washington football team, and they were having an interchange, and it was a number of emails, and it was two friends or friendly, colleagues, basically exchanging very just
like personal jabs over somebody else. Is that what it was?
Yeah, exactly. Like he was expressing his feelings toward Roger Goodell, who was the commissioner of the NFL, and called him a word for the female body part, and then he really went after the LGBTQ community, but basically just he was ranting on about women referees, and then he was talking about people being pressured to draft gay players, and compared one of the, I believe, the representative for the NFL Players Association. He made a very, what would be considered a racist remark about that guy. I mean, he was just, he was going off. I mean, just, in a very, the language that he was using is just not acceptable. It's just not acceptable these days. And so, again, it's one of those things where you look at him and you go, that doesn't surprise me that he uses that language and that he's that way. What I guess surprises me is that in the context of what was going on in the world, that he would choose to do so in email, because to me that is just you just have to know, right? You just have to know those things. You can't do that anymore.
Yeah, but it's just like, but that's everything, right? It's email, it's on video, if you look, I do not condone anything that he does. And I think everyone here listens to this knows how I feel in general, just about human beings. But what I don't understand is, and again, I don't know what happened with this, but immediately resigns. Isn't there like an escalation period where the first thing you do is apologize? I mean, if he's sorry, I don't know if he is.
Well, he didn't. Yeah, he didn't.
Just said, "I'm done." I mean, he just was upset and he left. Okay, I didn't know if he was canceled, and they said, "You're out." Because
I'm sure he probably was. I'm sure the resignation wasn't because he wanted to resign. The resignation was, dude, we're going to fire you, so you should resign.
Got it. Okay.
That's the conversation that happens, right? I mean, it's not. He didn't have a choice in this matter. Let's put it that way. I mean, and so, I think this is, in the greater scheme of life, there are people out there who have done worse things and not resigned. But I think given the sensitivity that the NFL has, and to one of the commentators who talked about this on ESPN the other night, the progress that the NFL has made in issues, everything spanning from LGBTQ rights to Black Lives Matter to sensitivity to all things like that. There was no their hand was played, right? Yeah. And you can't let that go, right? You just can't. There's just no way you can let that go.
I totally get it. I guess the immediacy of you're done if you do anything wrong. Now again, I'm not a big fan, John Gruden fan. But again, I mean, this goes for brands too. We've talked about it on the show. It's like, if you make a mistake as a brand, like everyone's going to protest that. And what do you do? I mean, it's almost like you're walking on eggshells as a social media manager, just in case, it's tough. It's tough today.
It is tough. It is tough. And in this particular case, I don't have a lot of sympathy.
No, I don't have any. I don't have any sympathy for him. And again, not knowing anything about it, I'm like, wow. First thing is he's out. That really escalated quickly. It's you do this and you're done, and now you got to wait into the 1 or 2 year period where people forget about all that, and then you can come back. It's like right. Isn't that what generally happens?
Yeah,
he'll coach again.
Yeah,
he'll
maybe.
Go coach in the. Yeah. He'll be. He'll be an
I don't know about that.
Or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
Well, I don't know.
I'm not sure about him. Yeah.
Okay. Here, let's make a bet right now. Let's do it. I bet inside 2 years he is on television somewhere.
Oh, I'd take that bet.
Okay.
I thought you were going to say coaching. I would absolutely.
No, I'm going to say television first, and then he will be coaching.
Not inside. Television.
He will be if he decides to, because he might be done with it. Because you know how he goes back and forth and didn't know if he wanted to coach again. But he'll come back. Right. He'll come back in the limelight at some point. So
I could actually see him coaching before I'd see him on TV. There's no TV network in the world that's going to touch him right now. No way.
Barstool Sports.
He's radioactive.
Barstool Sports.
He is radioactive right now.
No, I disagree with that. Barstool Sports would pick him up tomorrow.
Nope.
You don't think so?
Nope. I do not think so.
Because that whole that whole channel has been called misogynistic. So, right?
Well,
so if they're no, seriously, they're leaning into that brand, and they're unapologetic about it. They will. That's what they. I mean, if you go and look at how Dave Portnoy says this is what Barstool Sports is, it offends a lot of people.
I would be very surprised.
And
I would be very surprised.
Nobody in Europe right now cares about John Gruden. I'm so sorry for our European fans that we had to go into that entire mess.
Well, it's an interesting issue, though. It's an interesting issue nonetheless. I mean, when you compare, to your point, when you compare what's going on and how quickly it happened for John Gruden, and then you compare what Dave Chappelle is going through right now with his new Netflix special, where he's also run into some heat from the LGBTQ community over things he said. You know, it's interesting. It's an interesting
what's interesting
comparison.
is, I mean, look at the two, because Netflix has stood by him and said, we're keeping it on. And a lot of people are calling. Yeah. I mean, of course, there's a lot of Netflix. The article I wrote, or I read, said that a lot of Netflix employees were very upset that Netflix decided to run that. And so you've got Netflix that says, hey, we're standing by it. We don't think it's overly offensive. And then you've got another organization, the NFL, that they make a quick decision and boom. I guess it's all it has to do with
it's different enough that you can see it's hard to compare the two in terms of what the actual incident was, because they're so very different. But it's like I if I'm the NFL, I totally get it. I totally understand why they had the position they did and what and the actions they were going to take, and I understand why the Raiders took the actions that they took, and I get it. I will agree with you that it happened so fast. I mean, all of this went down like on Sunday, I think, and then Monday the New York Times article came out, and then literally, last night was when he was fired or resigned or whatever you say.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's almost similar to the Kevin Hart thing, where all I heard was Kevin Hart is hosting the Oscars, and 5 minutes later he's not.
Yeah. Right.
Like, whoa, that happened quickly. So, what do I know? It's just interesting, the two takes about the whole thing.
Yep.
Before we get started, I have to say congratulations to your Cowboys. Played a fantastic. Well, they played well enough. There's so much talent on that team, so you can play a really, a lackluster game and win. And then you've got my Cleveland Browns, who on offense were almost perfection the entire game and lost. I think the total combined yardage was the most for sure this season, maybe the most in the last 5 years, over 1,000 yards combined.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I think the score was 772 to 872 or something. Yeah, it was crazy. It was the amount of scoring that was going on.
It was almost a perfect night, because we were on our annual trip in Atlantic City, and we had all our friends there. We were watching it. It was a great open air bar. Everyone felt nice and comfortable, and we watched that game and watched them lose at a Browns backers party, and it was actually in Philadelphia. Ooh. And it would have been perfect. It would have been a night I would have remembered forever, and now I'm in disgust about the whole thing because of that ending.
Wow, that's dramatic too.
I'm still upset. I haven't read an article on it.
Full of drama.
You know how big of a Browns fan I am. I haven't read an article.
I know.
I haven't seen any posts. Nothing. I'm taking the rest of the week off because I'm just disgusted with the whole thing. That's all I got to say about it.
Yeah. Well, on that note, then we should probably move to the news.
Talk about
because
some uplifting content marketing information. What do you got for us?
You're doing your Seinfeld.
If that's Seinfeld,
content marketing. What's the deal with content marketing?
That's a better one.
Yeah.
I don't have.
All
I
right.
don't do impressions. My impressions, I'll do. Where's my shoes and my glasses? Like I'll do that.
But you have the Elmo impression that is tops anybody's Elmo impression.
I'm so disgusted. This is the worst thing ever. I hate the Browns.
And now we are totally off the rails, folks. So we're going to open up with our news here. The first story comes to us courtesy of Media Post and the section of Publishing Insider that they have. This one, for you content marketers out there and media people out there, might be a little inside baseball, but it's really an interesting story. The headline is Meredith's Stunning Reversal and What It Means. And so for those of you who haven't been keeping up, Meredith Corporation, the publisher, content marketing organization, it has sold. And the story opens up and says the sale of Meredith Corporation to Barry Diller's Interactive Corporation. And if you remember Barry Diller's Interactive Corp, IAC, you might remember from such past headlines like Ask Jeeves and those kinds of things. It's still around, folks. It's still around.
Ask Jeeves.
Yeah, I guess. The sale of Meredith Corporation to Barry Diller's IAC, or Interactive Corp, will go down as one of the fastest and most spectacular reversals in magazine industry history. The $2.7 billion deal comes less than 4 years after Meredith's transformative 2018 acquisition of Time in a $2.8 billion transaction, which created the largest magazine media company in the United States and one of the largest in the world. With the IAC deal, Meredith's media brands will be rolled into IAC's Dotdash digital publishing unit. Dotdash CEO Neil Vogel will lead the combined company. The article then goes on to talk about how quickly from 2018 the Time deal came together, and as recently as early this year, the Meredith folks remained bullish, basically saying they were, looking at selling the television stations and doing all of those kinds of things. So this is a very fast turnaround to say what they were building was this media empire, and now went, not so much. Let's sell the whole thing off to IAC. I mean, anything here worth paying attention to, Joe? This feels very interesting in sort of one of those, you look at the industry and go, this is one of those important deals that not a lot of people are going to talk about.
I guess I have no idea. I want to hear what your take is. Here is my take. So basically, they're calling this a big turnaround because if you really look at what Meredith sold off, I mean, there's a profit here on the sale. So you could say, wow, that was after early 2020 and all the debacles and the hurting brands, they came back. What I learned from this is there is a lot of value in old media assets. We've talked about it plenty on the show, things like Newsweek and Gawker, and where somebody could come in and make a big comeback and do this whole thing. So that's one thing. The second thing is I think people underestimate how good a business media is. That if you have a owned audience, more controlled audience from opt-in standpoint, you have some really good trust and different assets that you can monetize those assets in a ton of different ways. And you're seeing that, and that's why they got some of this valuation back. And the third thing is just plain old inflation. And I've talked about inflation on this show many times, that there's just the dollars just aren't worth what they were 3 years ago. Like you could say this is $2.7 billion, but if you take inflation, it's not that. Because the dollars just don't go as far as they used to. So realistically, I think they're taking a loss if you consider inflation, because we've seen a ton of asset inflation, specifically in real estate and the stock market, because everyone's just printing dollars out of thin air. And so that's one reason why you have these prices. Again, we could get into a whole different show why we have so much inequity in between the rich and the poor. But if you're in assets, if you have any kind of assets going on for the past 2 or 3 years, you're doing pretty well, even through this whole pandemic thing, including publishers. And publishers have a lot of different assets, and it's helped them. So I have no idea if you're going to match up with anything what I just said, but I'm curious to see what your take is off of this.
Here's the thing. I think what it says to me is that there was so Meredith is one of the classics, right? A classic magazine conglomerate. And after they, and we covered it on the show when they divested themselves of Time, very famously to, of course, Mark Benioff at Salesforce. They've divested themselves of Fortune magazine. They've divested themselves of Sports Illustrated, all of which we covered on this show when they sort of sold those pieces off. And, that was basically, let's call it 200, 300, almost $500 million worth of selling, right? So to your point, they flipped the house, basically. They got those magazines, they shaped them up, they got them in order, and then they sold them off and made some money on those.
Which, by the way, is a model that has worked for hundreds of years in media. So
exactly,
yes.
And Meredith has been good at that, right? In terms of bringing in things and
fixing them up.
It was fixing them up, and then away they go. And then they sort of kept that, their core sort of, the magazines and publications that they did. My take on this is that at some level there was somebody at the, Hardy maybe, who is the CEO there, said, I'm not confident about the future of magazines and the publications we have, right? So it's literally anything's for sale at the right price. And I think at some point somebody looked out there and said, 2.7 billion, it's maybe as good as it's going to get for the next 10 years. And I'm not that confident. And quite frankly, all we're doing here is, we're getting a bunch of money and we're cashing out our chips at the table. And now we're going to go play, we're all still going to have jobs and we're all still going to go do the thing. And we're all going to go play with Dad's money. We're all going to go play with Barry Diller's money now. And we take all the risk off the table. And so, because the operations won't really change, not with an acquisition of that size, certainly for years, the operations and the strategy won't change. I mean, they may divest themselves of a couple of properties, but the material changes are not going to really happen. I mean, in fact, they actually say it. We don't expect any material changes, right? So, that's everything stays the same except you get money and you get it's the guaranteed money versus the theoretical money. And I think to your point, when we look at inflation and where those things go, they looked at it and said $2.7 billion is better than $3 billion next year, maybe. And so we're going to take it. I think it's a pure cash out play. It's just, we're cashing in our chips at the table and we're going to play on winnings.
Yeah, I remember when I was at Penton Media, this is back in 2006, when we went from, man, we're in real trouble, we're way in debt, and we had a whole new team come in and fix it up. We let a lot of people go. We got to a point and said, all right, we got an offer on the table. Did we want to wait another year and get it, tweak it a little bit more, or do we sell? And they sold. So I think you're right. They got to that point and said, okay, well, at this point, you just don't look a gift horse in the mouth, right? You just go ahead and go for it.
And that's why I think it's worth covering, right? Because other than the observational sport that you and I are sitting on the sidelines and going, ooh, what did they do here? And why did they do that? And maybe the audience is going, this doesn't have anything to do with my life at all. I think it does, because to me, when I look at a deal like this and I go, what it makes me think is, okay, what do they believe about the media economy that we don't believe or that we do believe, right? Because they made a big and important decision based on something they are seeing in the pipeline or something they're seeing in the future that gave them pause to say, now's the time to cash out. So they're literally looking at the same dealer of cards that we are, and they're seeing something different. Now, you may believe that they're dopey and they just decided, we're going to take the money and run. And you go, good for them. Good, it doesn't change my view of the world at all. But deals like this always makes me go, what did they see? Like, what did they actually look at that made them make this decision? And it makes me start to look at the trends and sort of, uncover some of the things that aren't getting as wide covered and going, what's going on here underneath the covers?
I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with NFTs. You knew it was coming.
Oh my God! Well, we are actually going to talk about that, which is
it probably does. By the way, because honestly, if you're looking at
it, does not.
No.
It does not have it.
It absolutely will. Again, so John Gruden is going to be on television in 2
God.
years, and Meredith
hawking
is going
NFTs.
to be hawking NFTs. Like you would not believe, going to be the largest.
No, John Gruden is going to be hawking
largest
NFTs.
Revenue line. The N, the F to T.
That's Joe Pulizzi's new rap album, ladies and gentlemen. The N to the F to the T.
Oh my God!
All right, we're going to move on.
Oh, that's fantastic.
There it is.
Okay,
there we go. Next story is one that comes straight out of Joe Pulizzi's backyard, which the headline is "Content Creator Economy, or the Creator Economy more broadly, is failing to spread the wealth." This comes courtesy of Axios. And the article opens up by saying the creator economy was supposed to democratize media. No, it wasn't, but that's all right. Let's go ahead. The creator economy was supposed to democratize media, but it turns out that a small portion of creators still reap the most revenue for their work across multiple platforms. Why does it matter, they say? Well, new tipping and micropayments features will hopefully make it easier for smaller creators to get paid. But for now, much of the creator economy is still supported by pricier subscriptions, forcing consumers to be selective. Data revealed as part of a massive Twitch hack last week that found this the top 1% of all streamers earn more than half of all revenue on the platform, per the Wall Street Journal. And then the article goes on to talk about video. While a handful of creators have made substantial money, the vast majority of earners on Twitch have made less than $120 this year, per the report. Newsletters, the top 10 publications on Substack collectively make more than $20 million a year in subscription revenue, while the less popular newsletters typically make tens of thousands annually. Podcasts, the top 1% of podcast earners make the vast majority of podcast ad revenue. Social, a report from TechCrunch last month found that Twitter's new super followers allows people to tip their favorite creators, only brought in $6,000 in its first 2 weeks. Basically, the article concludes that what's happening now with the creator economy mirrors all of the previous waves of digital media economies built before it, blogging, websites, etc. And what say you, Mr. Pulizzi, about all of this?
Well, honestly, if I'm going to be honest, because I've been holding back this episode.
Please do be honest. Yeah,
my degree of loathing of this article is an 11.
Exactly.
I don't. How did this make it through editorial? All right, here's my take on it. First of all, if you look at any business in the capitalist world, this is how it works. You have the 80-20 rule. You have small number of companies that generate 80% of the revenue, and the rest generate 20. It's almost every industry that I know of. So why is it's supposed to have the creator economy is supposed to have some capitalist socialist model? I don't know. You tell me. Is it supposed to be different? Like when your point was the creator economy was supposed to democratize media. No, I don't think that was a thing. I don't think it's ever been a thing. It's just because we can all create content, that means we all should develop equal revenue streams all the way. So, okay, anyways, I'm done with that. That's number one. Number two, what this is, and I've said this many times, and listeners are going to totally get the same thing, but the creator economy is not the third-party social media platform economy. And everything in here, when we talk about content creators, content entrepreneurs, and you and I have talked forever about building first-party data assets, about moving from rented land to more controlled opportunities, things where you can actually build assets and possibly generate revenue and sell over a period of time. Whatever it is, everything they talk about was YouTube and Twitch and podcasts on Apple and Twitter super followers. Everything on here is somebody else's platform. So here's the thing. When you have a creator that's trying to build an audience and try to monetize on a third-party platform, these are the ones, for the most part, that don't have a decent business model. You can get, of course, you get big social influencers at the top. They're making lots of money. They got lots of, and so Twitch and YouTube, they love those. But the majority of content entrepreneurs are doing things like creating their own email newsletters. They're creating their own video channels. They're creating their own membership websites. They're creating assets, just like Meredith did for the $2.7 billion sale. Same thing. So that's what I don't get. Maybe you can explain it to me, Robert, about every creator economy, especially from Axios. Every creator economy article is not my idea of what the creator economy is. It always goes to platform. Why?
Yeah, I don't know why. I can't answer that question for you.
I was hoping you had the answer.
Yeah.
I was so hoping. I even wrote it down. I said, I think Robert might have the answer for why they do this. Maybe
you are always wrong in that assumption.
John,
you are always wrong.
Maybe John
assumption.
Gruden has the answer.
Yeah, absolutely. When I look at this, I go, the opening line here, and I paused on it on purpose. The creator economy was supposed to democratize media. No, it's the exact other way around. Democratized media created the creator economy. So, and that. The fascinating thing about this article and why it annoys me so much is that I can just as easily turn this data around and tell a completely different story.
What would that be?
Right?
Wow.
You know what I mean? It's like I can say 1% of all of the Twitch streamers, right? That's a large number, by the way. That's a large number of streamers on Twitch would be 1%. Made, half of all of the revenue.
Yeah, that could be something like 5,000 Twitch streamers made $1 million each or something like that, right?
That's correct. That's correct.
Number.
That is exactly right. Which is an incredible number. Top 10 publications, 10 newsletter making $20 million a year in subscription revenues. That's the establishment of $2 million of a year of revenue for 10 new startup businesses, tens of thousands of year annually for less popular newsletters. That's a good side business for many businesses these days. 1% of podcasts. I mean, I don't even know what that number is, but it's in the tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, making the vast majority. In other words, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of business are being enabled with this new
you could say
these new platforms.
That's a great point. I didn't think about that. You could say the fastest growing area of entrepreneurship in North America are content creators.
That's correct. Exactly. So it's just the exact opposite of what they're saying here, which is good. Because of course, it's going to be, by design, it's going to be a small number, right? It can't be a big number, because if it was a big number, there wouldn't be enough audience to go make it monetized. And of course, it's going to be that. But if you look pre-digital, let's say pre this creator economy or pre-digital even, the number of media companies, that were making money off of this, you could probably count using a couple of dozen eggs, right? I mean, it's literally a very small number of companies were making money here. What the creator economy has done is enable a broad swath, yes, a small percentage of the total, but a broad swath of the public to now create entrepreneurship and actually create economic opportunity. And that's the story. And so, to me, looking at it as it hasn't spread the wealth yet, it's not designed to do that. No capitalist program is designed to spread the wealth. It's designed to focus the wealth in the innovative and the ones who can actually build a differentiating business. So, I think to me, this is good news. Right. This is good to me. When I see these numbers, I go, that's interesting. That's opportunity. That's a place where I can go, because the walls to get there are much lower. Right. In other words, if the story was top 1% of podcast earners make the vast majority of podcast ad revenue, et cetera, and the reason that is because big media companies have the monopoly on the technology to actually make it work, well, then I go, okay, yeah, that's a problem. But what it is that we can all, you and I on this show, we could get there. We just haven't yet. We just haven't gotten there yet. There's nothing preventing us from getting there. It's just we haven't gotten there yet. And so the opportunity is there for everyone. It is democratized. The media is democratized. It's just democracy. The way it works is that the audience speaks with their votes and their dollars and elects those who they want to listen to. And that's all you can ask for.
That's good. I didn't look at it that way. So you're basically saying the article could say that more content creators are making money from the creator economy than ever before. Right now.
That's right.
Because of all these great opportunities. And you know what? And if you look at the distribution of wealth, if you will, into these platforms, it looks pretty similar to every other industry that's out there. Retail, restaurants, so forth, right? That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Yep. It's like those research reports you always see in the news. I see this all the time. It makes me, to use the Family Guy reference, it really grinds my gears when you see those, research reports that say, 36% of the people disapprove of the job that, they're doing. Right. And so 64% approve. You know what I mean? It's like, why do you showing the numbers in a particular way with a particular angle is just, exactly. Negative cells.
I like your positive take on this, though. I like that. I wish it would have been that way instead of. Now, I looked at it, of course, with my bias. I look at it immediately and say, well, I just had a conversation today with 30 content creators, and most of them are making really good livings, but they're not doing it on social media platforms. But they're all in part of the creator economy. That's right. They're just building they're building assets that they control. So that's where I looked at it.
That's the other thing. Yeah, and that's the other thing about this article that's so annoying that you make a great point on, which is, tipping and micropayments, that's not the future. Tipping and micropayments is when it says, well, hopefully make it easier for smaller creators to get paid, but for now the creator economy is still supported by pricier subscriptions.
That's not a good business
that means
model.
No. The way that sentence should read is pricier subscriptions will become enabled by tipping and micropayments. That's what, that's the whole groove here, right? That's the whole, it's not just taking the reservation, Jerry, it's holding the reservation.
That's the whole point of the reservation.
Yeah. This is the Jerry Seinfeld episode.
If you give away the reservation, it's not a reservation.
What's the deal? All right.
Crazy.
Let's move on to our next story here, which is, interestingly enough, a nice segue here, almost as if we designed the layout of these stories. And this comes courtesy of Protocol,
that's like your
which
new
the headline
favorite
says, stream it.
You've been reading a lot of Protocol.
Yeah, Protocol's great. Stream it, own it. DJ Justin Blau sees music's future in crypto. So I know some of you tire of the NFT conversation, but this has everything to do with content and all of that. I know some people do, some people don't. We saw on Twitter. I know. All right, fine.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. The article opens up by saying Justin Blau, and I had to be introduced to Justin Blau, by the way. I did not know Justin Blau, but I got introduced in researching this story, was hanging out with the Winklevoss twins, which immediately puts him about 2 levels down in my book. But all right, we're going to go ahead and go with that.
You don't know.
Yeah. Not a fan of the Winklevosses. Got to be honest.
Have you read that book?
I know. Yes.
You didn't like Bitcoin Billionaires? Wasn't a good follow-up to The Social Network book?
All I can think of is Arnie Hammer in The Social Network is all I can have when I think Winklevoss twins.
I can't wait till this movie comes out.
Anyway,
okay, go ahead.
Justin Blau was hanging out with the Winklevoss twins, which is never a good way to open up an article, but it does, in Mexico in 2014, as one does when one is a world-famous DJ and producer who turned down a career on Wall Street to pursue music. That's when he got hooked on Bitcoin, it says. I was super excited, Blau told Protocol. I just bought some and kind of put it away. Blau, also known by his stage name Blau, which is with a 3, not a B, which is kind of the Web 3.0 of the Web 2.0 no vowels in your name kind of thing. Anyway, He was intrigued by the promise of blockchain technology, and that led to Royal, a music marketplace that plans to sell music rights as NFTs, founded by Blau and entrepreneur JD Ross. Royal, which Blau and Ross plan to formally launch later this month, will let users buy shares of a song and earn royalties based on the popularity of the music. That's an interesting use case. I have to be honest. That's an interesting use case here. As the song becomes more popular and the song begins to generate more income, you actually have a right to those royalty streams as the owner of the asset. What happens if an artist reneges on that agreement? Well, just like in the traditional music world, there could be legal consequences, says Blau. In an interview with Protocol, Blau talked about his journey from musician to entrepreneur, why he turned down a job from BlackRock to pursue music, and how he's exploring new ways for musicians to make money from their work in collaboration with their fans. This is the article goes on to then go through the interview and actually interview Blau about this new venture that he's on. I think this is an interesting idea. This is where blockchain technology separates itself from NFTs, and I think it's a really interesting use case. I'm assuming you're for this, and you're
is an NFT.
Feeling pretty good.
This is an NFT. There's no difference. It's a smart contract. You're using technology to just do things better. So there's no difference. The content creator, in this case the musician, can set up the smart contract however they want. What I love about it is that, and you know this better than anyone because you grew up in and around music, you'll know that the creator, the musician, by the time the money gets to the musician, about 80% of all the revenues are gone to the producers, to the record company, and the locations and everything. And by the end, it's like there's a little bit left over to the musician. What's great now is, and this, I love how he puts it in this. He says, look, don't think of it as an NFT. He's like, instead of doing a deal with a record company, I'm doing a deal with fans. The fans are supporting me. The fans get the rights. The fans can sell and resell, get royalties and all those because it's made available on this new technology. We don't even need to say crypto. We don't even need to say blockchain. It's just on a public general ledger. So if you want to know who owns it, there it is. Everyone can look at it. We all see it, right? We all see it. And I love this idea. Blau he's been trailblazing here for the last year in this area. I think that him putting something together for musicians is great. I think you've already seen things, obviously, for artists. OpenSea, Super Rare, those are already there. There wasn't really anything that I know of for musicians. So this is great because what I love about it is you don't need a huge audience. You just need a loyal audience of people that are willing to support you, and you can tokenize anything. I mean, and it's funny because we get into these whole discussions of, is it an NFT and this is bad marketing and you've got the blockchain, but really all you're talking about is it's the tokenization of everything. That's what we're seeing going to see in the next few years. So you can take a song, you can tokenize it, you can dole out those tokens to fans. Fans can then get the rights and ownership to those. They can resell them or they can get royalties off of them. They can do all kinds of things. And every time it's resold and every time there's more attention to those songs, the original creator gets paid. And I love that. That's what I love about OpenSea too, because if you're an artist and somebody buys your art, that's great. You get paid. You get paid a big number, more than going throughout an art house or anything like that. And then if they resell it, you get paid again. You get paid whatever you set it up as. And I love this, and I think that you're going to see this in every industry over the next 5 years, and hopefully all those middle people that are taking little bits and pieces off of, in this case, the musician's business model, will need to go somewhere else. So do something else.
Well,
it's going to take a long time.
Yeah. So it's a little more complicated than that. And so, I mean, what I don't see in this article is actual ownership, right? So, and maybe this will come to pass, but what I don't see here is, so typically when you have a song that gets published, right? So any published work, a song that gets published, you have publishing rights, you have performing rights, and you have writer rights, right? So in other words, you get money, you get a share of the money if you wrote the song and you're the original composer of it. You get rights to do that, to perform that song, and you get money for performing it if you're the artist that performs it. And then there's the publishing who owns the actual publishing rights on the song. And so that's ownership, right? That's copyright. That's where I have control over what happens to this song. And we've talked about on this show and has been made in tons of headlines. The great, the most recent example of this is that Taylor Swift, for example, is redoing all of her music, all of her old albums. And for the reason that when she was young, when she started out, the record company that had the publishing rights, basically having the rights to be able to, license it for car commercials or whatever, basically was sold. That catalog of music was sold to Scooter Braun, a famous music executive who's a producer, et cetera, on and on. And they were planning on, basically, monetizing it in a number of ways, and Taylor Swift didn't like that, so she's going to combat that by basically redoing all of her music, right, and basically making that the original version. And so there's an interesting idea here of ownership versus having a share and getting paid for one of those things, which is what I think they're really talking about here, right? So when I talk about royalty, they say, hey, listen, buy a part of the publishing rights, maybe buy a share in that. It'll be interesting to see what happens there, because as we're starting to see even now with tokenization, you've got people coming in and sort of throwing their weight around, right? So in other words, if Justin Timberlake or Imagine Dragons or something like that offers up this to the marketplace, big investors will go in, and you'll have one person control the majority, quote unquote, shares. Do they get decision-making power with that? Do they get to determine where those things go as shareholders? That's an interesting and very weird and legal conversation that has to be had at some point, because it's not just who gets paid, it's who has control to make decisions on how they get paid. Do I license this content out to appear in a commercial? Do I license this content out to be used in a movie? Do I license this for Donald Trump to be able to run at one of his rallies and allow him to do that? All of those things have to be taken into consideration.
If it's in the smart contract, the answer is yes. Yeah. I'll give you an example of a JPEG NFT, the kind that you don't like. So I'm in a community called the Crypto Dads. So I've got my little, and that's my little. My profile picture
your avatar
is
now.
my crypto dad.
Yep.
I love my crypto dad. So basically, the way they set that up is I bought the rights to that image, and I own that image. And if they end up using that image in something else of theirs, they have to ultimately, I get licensed. I have to license it back to them if they want to do that. That's from what I've been reading. That's it. So I own that. I can republish it. I can make T-shirts of it. I can do all kinds of stuff with that one image.
If you make a T-shirt out of it, do you have to pay them?
No, I already paid it. I own the rights. I can do it right now. So I can set up
so it's literally a work for hire, right? They basically, you bought all of the rights to that.
As far as
when you buy the
I've
NFT.
looked at the agreement on that, yes.
Because that's different than most of them. Like, most of the NFTs that you buy out there do not contain that. That you do not have the ownership rights of those things. That would be an exception.
Oh, well, I don't know. I'm just saying that's what I'm saying is it can go into the agreement. All things are possible, just like any agreement. I mean, we're not talking about anything that can't be done in a formal written agreement. All you're saying is you're just taking that and you're putting it on a public ledger that people can read it and say, oh, there it is. And then it automatically happens because everyone's wallet's hooked up. And when there is an action that the algorithm has to go ahead and do because somebody sold something or somebody licensed something, they get paid or they don't.
Yeah, but it's a little more complicated than that because it takes, there are what you can do and what transactions occur that are triggered by
okay,
NFT,
so here's another one. Have you ever been to Mirror XYZ? Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Well, in Mirror XYZ, you can set it up. If there's multiple writers on that platform, they set it up right at the bottom. Who gets what percentage when when one article is sold?
On that platform.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's how that contract is set up.
I agree. So I'm not disputing that. The difference is the complexity comes in is when we start making deals or we start creating transactions that are allowed by the contract but not governed by the contract. And that's where it gets a little more complex. So in other words, if you own, for example, this may or may not be the case with your crypto dad, right? Which is let's say that you decide you're going to make a movie, you're going to make a new cartoon on television, and you're going to call it Crypto Dads, and you're only going to feature your crypto dad.
No, I can't do that. I only own the image.
Why not?
I don't own the name. I own that image.
You own, right? So can you make a cartoon out of that and call it Crypto Pops?
Maybe.
I don't know, right? So the point being, you may or may not, but it's something that will have to be addressed by something other than the smart contract, or it will have to be updated in the smart contract. That's when you start talking about music licensing and music ownership, those publishing rights, those performance rights, and those original writer rights all have to be written into the idea. It's just two different things, right? One is getting paid when transactions happen. Totally get that. Love this technology for that. Then there's ownership and usage of the media or the content and what permissions I have to do that. It's a whole different thing.
I understand that.
It's just a different thing. And royalty maybe, this new company that this guy's going to set up may have already considered that, or quite frankly, they may just be the new version. This to me is what replaces ASCAP or BMI, right? So ASCAP and BMI are the two music organizations right now that pay me. So for example, my music that is used, funny enough, ironically
music,
enough,
like the theme song for this show
on Jersey Shore. Yeah, I did a Jersey Shore, right? So I there's one episode of Jersey Shore that my music is used pretty heavily in, and I don't know which one, for those of you who are asking right now. I can't remember, but I get about, $2 or $3 every month in a BMI statement that comes to me, and the money goes right into my account. They have my, they ACH it right in. And so I see, $2 went in this month because that Jersey Shore episode ran in Spain, and so that is who governs that. This is a great solution for that because that's an inefficient, horrible, legacy dated process for how that money gets transferred. This is a great solution for that. It's not a great solution for music ownership, I don't think.
Well, I don't know. You know more about it than I do.
Yeah.
But I guess what I'm saying is that you don't have to, if you make it public, that's what I love about this technology. You make it, everyone can see what the rules are. Instead of, where's the contract? Who's got the contract? Where's those emails? Whatever. It's like, no, here it is. It's written right here. I can go see it right now. Here's the things we can automate. Here's the things we can't, where we might need a lawyer to look at it.
Yeah.
Because somebody's using it. There's malfeasance somewhere. You can't. Yeah. I totally understand that.
Yeah. And let's be clear. In the music business, there's a lot of malfeasance everywhere. There's a lot of, whatnot and shenanigans going on.
No, I totally get that. I guess what exciting, we can talk about this stuff forever.
It's exciting.
It's exciting to me.
It's exciting. I don't want to deprecate it too much. It is really exciting, and it's a very interesting actual use case for the blockchain in arts and content and media, and I'm all for it. It's a little more complicated than this article makes it sound.
You're probably correct about that, but I think that's where
No, I'm not probably correct. I'm definitely correct.
Probably. I'll give you the music thing. Anything music related, I'll lean to you because I don't know. I mean, I don't make $2 a quarter from my music on Jersey Shore, so I can't say for sure.
Yeah.
But
the other one I have is Basketball Wives. You ever
No.
seen that show? I've never seen the
Never
show,
seen it.
but I now understand that there's a show called Basketball
oh my
Wives.
gosh, if that was
NTV
me, honestly, I would know the exact show. I would have watched it. I would have shared it with friends.
I've never seen it. I've never seen it. Yeah, I've never seen the
thought
episode
you'd
of
be more
Basketball
curious
Wives or
than just saying, whatever.
I do not need to see an episode of Jersey Shore to appreciate my $2 per month.
I'll tell you what, though, I wrap this up in a positive way. I've never been more excited about all these new business models. I just think for content
cool.
creation,
Yeah.
it is the gold rush days right now. This is fantastic.
It's almost as we could write an article for Axios talking about the opportunity for the content creator
I want to
economy and
rewrite
how
that.
it's going to
I might
be.
rewrite that article. I might rewrite the whole thing.
Yeah, and
just say, just do the opposite
and send it to them. Yeah, yeah, exactly. All right, ladies and gentlemen, very quickly, we are going to move to your favorite and empirically proven favorite part of the show, which, of course, is our rants and rave section, where Joe and I go off in a little bit of a rant or a little bit of a rave over something that makes us feel like John Gruden or makes us feel like John Gruden. I don't know. I have no idea where to go with that. But do you want to go first, or shall I go first?
I don't have an article
okay, you go
or anything.
first.
By
You
the
go
way,
first.
you can't say favorite and empirically proven favorite. It's like you're shoving it in my face.
That's right. I am. I'm doing exactly that.
All right.
I'm doing exactly that.
So we had a great
you
time, and I know what's funny is when I told people I was going to Atlantic City, I had a few texts and people said, "Atlantic City? ? Like, is that still a thing?" And I said, "Yes." And by the way, the weather was beautiful. I loved it. I would absolutely go back. To your point, you were concerned about my welfare. You thought it was a little dangerous. But, like any city, you just have to watch your step, but you'll be fine. That's said.
I suppose so, yeah.
We were walking down the boardwalk. My wife was so excited because, and we knew this was there, but we didn't know exactly where. Right next to the Hard Rock Casino, there's a place called Sugar Factory. Have you ever seen the Sugar Factory? Do you know this is a thing?
So? I don't know.
So this is Sugar
a thing. Tell
Factory.
me.
I didn't know it was a thing until I looked up, like, what do you do on the boardwalk in Atlantic City? So basically, it's almost like, like when you see a rainforest cafe where you're like, is this a real restaurant? Like, is this? But it's so colorful, and you go in and you look at the menu, and the first 40 things on the menu, they're all drinks, they're all alcoholic, they're in these big, huge fishbowl glasses, and they cost $39 a piece. And of course, I thought immediately of Pulp Fiction. It's like, is it like, you do John Travolta? It's like, is that like $8 milkshake? It's like, what's there bourbon in this? Right? Is it what? Is this a thing? But we went through, and we were all a little suspect, like, whatever. And everyone was so excited because everything has sugar in it. So if you want a burger, you're getting a burger with pancakes on top of it. If you want a drink, there's gummy bears in it. There was a kid across the way from us that had some kind of a milkshake in a mug, and the mug on the outside was basically chocolate cake. The mug was chocolate cake, and it had candies shoved into the side of the chocolate cake, and then inside of the mug was some kind of chocolate milkshake with Oreos and peanut butter and all kinds of stuff in it. I mean, it will kill you. And I thought it was the most fantastic thing ever. And what was great is Pam and I, my wife, we shared a drink. It was some strawberry monster drink or something. And it comes in this big, huge fishbowl. They fill it with ice, and there's something at the bottom. We're like, what is that? Is that just sugar? They come over. It's a big thing. I took a video of it because they make a big spectacle, and they pour it in, and then, of course, it starts smoking. And it smokes the entire time. And you're like, oh, my God, this is amazing. And it is, of course, as sugary as you could possibly imagine a drink to be.
Nice.
And what I loved about this, and I'll probably put it in the newsletter next week, but I love the all-in mentality here with the brand, and I think that's what more content creators need to do. Like, really go into something. Like, that is, like, if you're going to go all the way in like Justin Blau is, and your music NFTs, you're all the way, right? That's you. Right. Instead of just covering a little bit here and there and saying, oh, we cover this and that. Like, I love the fact that they went in these types of places. Like, how do you get $40 for a drink? We were talking about them. Like, can't be more than $2-3 worth of product in here. That's a great margin for a plate. Well, how do you do that?
Oh, my gosh.
Because you just lean into this thing called sugar. And they went all the way.
Yeah.
And I guess I learned that, there's such an opportunity for anyone in content creation if you just focus on one area and you become the best in the world at it.
It's the tilt. They have their tilt.
That's it.
They
I
have
was
their
so
tilt.
excited. I really wasn't at first because I think if I have a donut in the morning, I get lightheaded. I got to take a nap in 30 minutes. But I'm like, no, I'm in it to win it. Let's have this thing. And
In it
was
to win
everything I dreamed it would be. So
yeah. What's that? You used to cover, and I think you even cover it in the new version of the book, Ann Reardon.
Yeah.
Who leaned into another dessert thing, right? It was like the impossible desserts.
Like
that was
never
it. Yeah.
think. It's the exact same thing. It's like if you went into a place and there's all these like a 5-pound Snickers bar. Unbelievable.
Right.
And it's the same type of thing.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a great reminder.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you ever stop by Sugar Factory, go for it. Don't get the small drinks. Don't be cheap. Go all the way. Go get your $39 thing on.
Treat yourself. Treat yourself.
I'm sure I've been into places where people were happier. But it's hard to think of people laughing and giggling, and everyone was people watching, and it was really incredible how happy everyone was. And of course, if you're eating sprinkles,
how do you not be happy?
How can you not
with
be
that,
happy
right?
when you're eating and drinking sprinkles? Sprinkles.
Exactly.
Go ahead. What do you got?
Well, I have the opposite of that.
You have no sprinkles and no fun.
Well, the funny thing is that there's a nice weird tie in here, poetic tie in here, but it literally is the opposite of what you just talked about. The article that we'll link to in the show notes is from the Wall Street Journal, and specifically the CMO Today section of the Wall Street Journal, which is of course a native advertising basically section sponsored by Deloitte Consulting.
I'm sorry, it just doesn't feel right to me. But whatever, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I get why they do it, and they do, I guess they do a nice job of it. But in any event, the article that's here is the future of advertising in a cookieless world. You get it? See how I tied that together with your thing?
Very nice.
So the article, I guess it's a rant. So I'm going to start this pretty much regularly when I just rant about, I started it whatever it was a couple of weeks ago when I was ranting about Ad Week and Ad Age just refusing to say the word content marketing. This article, and to be fair, I have not listened to the podcast episode yet that this references. So maybe they say it in the podcast and I haven't gotten there yet. I will listen to the podcast to see. The whole article is basically a rundown of this episode of the Deloitte CMO podcast episode that speaks to this idea, the future of advertising in a cookieless world. So far I'm like, content marketing platform. They're reusing some content, in their thought leadership. And I'm like, fantastic. I fully agree with their process. So I have no quibble with their strategy at all here. This is repackaged, from the podcast, and it's basically an article covering the episode of the podcast. However, the article starts out by saying, as third-party tracking and data is phased out, marketers should adopt new technologies, processes, and skills to acquire and retain customers. Deloitte leaders share their strategies for CMOs. The entire article, and it's probably 800 words, basically says the following. And it's just summed up in the first paragraph. The first paragraph is, for more than 2 decades, marketers have relied on third-party cookies, snippets of code that track users' data, blah, blah, blah. Cookies give marketers an effective and efficient way to acquire and retain customers. And then basically every paragraph after that says consumers have really a lot more power these days, and marketers need to change their strategies around the way they do advertising. They should get some new technology. Next paragraph, the new technology that marketers need to get will be really important because they're going to have to manage advertising in a different way. Next paragraph, new strategies that go beyond advertising and create content for consumers in a new paid, earned, and shared way will have to actually come to pass. The entire ad tech ecosystem is going to be built on something different. It's going to be built on a different approach. there's going to be another challenge to get first-party data, which is so important for brands to get in terms of first-party data. They'll have to change their approach to marketing in a fundamental way. It's like they go out of their way to not, it's like somebody went, okay, here's the deal, guys. This is the game. You have to talk about content marketing, but you can't say the word. You can't actually use any words like that. You just have to talk about it in a roundabout way that never actually mentions the strategy or approach of content as an audience building exercise and a new approach to marketing. And I just read this article, and at the end I just go, I am, it's like, what's that scene out of that movie? It's like, I am dumber for having read that, and God have mercy on your soul.
What movie is it? That's such a
I can't remember. I can't remember which movie that is. Somebody in the social media will remind us of the movie. But
that is
it's just, and I'm going to go listen to the Old School. That's it. That's it. And so I'm going to go listen to the podcast. I'm going to go punish myself and listen to the podcast episode just to make sure. But this is exactly what I'm talking about. It's just, I don't get it. I can't grok it. I can't understand why there is such a reluctance to actually talk about this as a marketing approach. There's just some weird block that these companies have about talking about it.
I mean, as I'm reading, I'm same with you, but as I'm reading this, let's make it so vague and confusing so that they need to call us for the answer. Because that's what they want. They want the CMO's business. Yeah. That's why Deloitte's doing this. So, right? That's it. So, because you read the bottom and they're like, what's the answer? Give me the answer.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I have to call for the answer.
Exactly.
Where's the pop-up?
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. This is the conclusion of the article. This is a quote. This is a really good opportunity for brands to figure out how to manage risk and drive value for the consumer. Wow. That's so insightful. I'm so much better for having read that. You mean I have to drive value for my consumer and manage risk as a marketing strategist? What are you talking about? That's shocking.
I think, isn't their term digital transformation?
A little snarky about it.
That's what they're pushing, right?
Yeah, right.
Something
or something.
Like yeah. I'm sorry you had to go through that. That wasn't.
That's all right. It's what I do. It's what I do. This. It's absolutely what I do. You do not need to read this article, ladies and gentlemen. I will report back to you on my research.
Bad articles and report on them.
I will take the bullets for all of you.
You know how much bad? Yes. That's true. People don't realize how much bad content we have to go through to bring up the mediocre content that's talked about on this show. I mean, come on. These things sell it.
Oh, that's funny, and the reason it's funny is because it's true.
It's true.
It's yeah.
It's like because we usually get one or two really like, oh, I like this one, then like, oh, what about this one? I don't know. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So, anyways, good show.
Good show. What you got going on this week?
What is that? Oh, my oldest has fall break, so going to have a week. A little bit different than we've had over the past month with the empty nesters, but it'll be fun. And I'm busy all day long, not really sure what I'm doing. Like have you gotten to that point?
There you go.
I'm very busy.
Yes, trust me.
Doing lots of things.
Yep.
And not quite sure where it's headed.
You will be told. You will be told. You will be directed. I have every confidence that you will be directed. All you need to do is just nod your head, say yes, and move along.
What are you doing?
Yeah. I got to go to Vegas.
Oh, that's right.
I'm not happy about it, but I'm going to Vegas.
Which hotel, by the way?
I'm happy for the event. I'm happy to be speaking. I don't know, some stupid hotel. It's not like the big one. It's not like the Bellagio or
like.
I think it's called the Westgate.
Oh,
is that what it's called?
It's not one of my favorites.
Is that right?
If it's the Westgate. That's where Barry Manilow's at right now. If it gives you any impression.
That's what it's called. It's called the Westgate. It's called the Westgate. Are you saying I'm not going to?
No,
enjoy
the Westgate.
Myself?
The Westgate, I believe, is next.
I literally get in at dinner time and
next to the convention center. So that's that.
That's exactly why I'm staying there. That's why. And I was told that I'm staying there. I did not choose that.
But the good news is it's very, very close to where you need to be. So There.
Yeah, that's the good news.
Go.
And I'm literally there. I get in at dinner time. I have my dinner. I go to bed. I wake up. I do my talk.
Go to
and then I go.
downtown.
So it's
Go to downtown. Go do the zip line.
No, thank you.
All right.
No thanks.
In the next 5 years, you and I are going to Vegas together. Just you and I.
Together. We got to go. Ladies and gentlemen, before Joe starts singing again, we are signing off. You want to get all the goodness of this podcast show notes or dive into any of the other 292 episodes. And by the way, our 300th is coming up. We're going to do something special. I'm just teeing it up right now. You're going to start to hear more and more about our 300th episodes. Just get on over, won't you, to our wonderful little website at ThisOldMarketing.site. That's ThisOldMarketing.site, and we want to thank the good folks at Radix for powering our ThisOldMarketing.site. If you want your own .site domain, get over to Radix and get your own .site domain, because a .site domain is for you. Until we meet again, ladies and gentlemen, just remember, it's your story to tell. Tell it well. We'll see you next week on This Old Marketing.